to Really Legal. I'm attorney Ethan Bearman, and you probably missed the news that courts in the United Kingdom have just trashed on Donald J. Trump's lawsuit there. I'll give you the good, the bad, and what's next. And do you remember the Steele dossier? Remember that? Christopher Steele, 2017, right after Donald Trump was elected president back in that 2016 election. In January 10th of 2017, it was BuzzFeed who released this explosive report that was compiled by a company called Orbis Intelligence. And the key person behind that is a guy named Christopher Steele, who was a former MI6 intelligence officer and was considered credible by U.S. intelligence officials. Well, apparently it was Oppo research funded by Trump opponents, and the publication really was important regarding the Russia investigation, where there were the allegations of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. This was a very big deal. It contained unsubstantiated reports. You can read it for yourself out on the internet, and we'll put the link in below as well. But out of that report, Donald Trump filed a case against the company, Orbis Intelligence, in UK courts. And it was a data privacy case. So it's a little different than what we've seen here in the United States, but he was accusing Orbis Intelligence of violating data privacy laws in the United Kingdom. And it looked to be a very interesting case. But the courts in the UK wanted no part of this. And it's very interesting how different the UK courts are. For as much as the United States, with the exception of Louisiana, really is based on British common law. That's our legal system is founded in British common law. The British courts, since our country's founding, have taken different turns than our court system has, and we have as well. So we're not entirely British anymore, but it is the underpinning of our entire legal system is British common law. And you'll see it throughout, and in law school we get to learn lots of really fun Old English and Latin words, and are still in use today. And some attorneys like to overuse those terms to make themselves feel smarter sometimes, and sometimes it's actually terms of art within the law. But Trump got crushed in the lower court. Judge Karen Stein, this is almost fascinating, said that Trump's case lacked merit and should be thrown out. Here's a quote from Judge Karen Stein in London. In my view, there are no compelling reasons to allow the claim to proceed to trial in circumstances where, whatever the merits of the allegation on that, the personal data are inaccurate may be, the claim for compensation and or damages is bound to fail. That's amazing. That is a very strong statement by the lower court judge. And this was a couple of months ago now, back at the beginning of this year. And a statement from Christopher Steele's lawyer, Anthony White, KC, said, and I love this one, Trump has a deep and intense animus against Steele and Orbis, which is reflected in numerous vituperative public statements, which he has made since the dossier was made public by BuzzFeed in 2017. So that's only the first part. He lost in the lower courts. And very much like the United States, there are certain rules that will allow attorney's fees to be sought. Remember, in the U.S., we have something called the American rule, which is in a contract dispute, et cetera, each side pays their own attorney's fees, unless there's a contract that says otherwise. There's the English rule, which says that the losing side pays the prevailing side's attorney's fees, period. The United States is unique, and that's why it's called the American rule. Well, so the court, that same Judge Stein was going to give attorney's fees and proceeded to grant attorney's fees to Orbis Intelligence. Donald Trump was ordered to pay the legal fees. But here's what's interesting. Orbis said it had incurred 634,000 British pounds of legal bills. That's $809,000. The judge was like, no. there was only a one-day hearing. We're going to cut that in half. But that's still, by the way, the judge ruled that Trump owes 300,000 British pounds, which is the equivalent, roughly speaking, of 380,000 US dollars. So he got a $380,000 judgment against him in the UK courts. But here's where it gets worse for Donald J. Trump. If that's possible, you might think, and ask yourself. By the way, give me your comments below. I want to hear what you're thinking of this as well. I'm always curious to see that. It only gets worse, though, because then Donald Trump, as he does, went to the appeals court in London. And can you guess how the appeals court responded to Donald J. Trump? And I quote from an article in his order, Lord Justice Mark Warby said Trump's, quote, appeal would have no real prospect of success. He found that, sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it's almost laughable. The Lord Justice found that some of the presumptive Republican presidential nominees' arguments were contradictory, and his appeal attempted to offer new points that he didn't present before Judge Stein. It's really interesting here because we have a rule like that in the United States as well, where, look, you've got to make your arguments in the lower court first. You don't get to make brand new arguments that were never offered in the lower court on your appeal, with very rare exception here in the United States. But it's the same thing. Your lower court hearing and briefing and arguments have to make the arguments before you go to the appeals court. So Donald Trump got his butt handed to him in the UK courts. So the good is that he just got crushed, and he owes roughly $380,000 in attorney's fees to Orbis Intelligence, Christopher Steele's company, or that he works for. And the bad is really none. I don't see anything bad other than for Trump, where he's just, the UK courts are just far less pliable with his legal processes to grant rulings in his favor. That's bad for Trump. I would consider that good for most people. And what's next is, I think the Steele dossier and the claims that were made therein is something that'll be endlessly debated. But you can go read about that on the internet far more. And what's next here is we still have more to find out about this gag order in the New York hush money case. Look, I am so glad to join you here on Really Legal on the Really American Network. If you like this video, please click that like button below. Give me your comments. I love reading your comments. I want to hear what you have to think. And I do read them, and some of you should actually know that based on my responses to you. So give me your comments below. Smash that subscribe button to the channel, and I look forward to talking to you next time. I'm attorney Ethan Bearman.